Hi, fourth graders. I'm back, Mrs. Nunes, teaching you theme today. And I'm really excited because this is one of the many reasons why I love to read is to figure out the theme of a story. So as you can see up at the top, I've already labeled my paper. You should have your paper and markers or pencil nearby because that's what the directions were. But if you don't, pause this video and come on back. Okay, so up at the top, you see I've labeled it because we always want to understand what our notes are about. So I have put the overall topic theme up at the top of what we're talking about. I did do 2 hearts because one of the many reasons why I love reading is to figure out the theme of a story. So let's go ahead and dig into this. The theme is the message, moral, or lesson the author wants you to learn. So we need to write what that definition is. So I want you, I'm going to write it in a different way. Theme, and I'm going to leave a space on purpose because I want you to see what I'm doing. Theme is the message, so it's a way that you can remember. Check that out. Right here. Message. So in this, the theme is the message. Moral. Or lesson. The author of a story. So the author wants you to learn. From reading. Now, reading, of course, can take many different forms. This is often going to be found in our stories or fables. You'll be working with fables this week. And fables, indeed, are a lot easier to find the theme, and I'll explain in a little bit. But please know that you just can remember theme is the message, the overall message that you need to learn from reading that story. In order to do that, we need to know that sometimes the theme is stated or implied. So sometimes the theme is stated or implied. And let's take a moment to figure out what that means. So if I directly tell you something, I'm stating it. I am telling you right away, telling you what I think, what I want, what you should think, even though you may not agree. But stated is when an author tells you directly. So the author tells you directly. There's no like wondering what it is, thinking about what it is. They are just telling you. For example, the fables that you're going to be reading, they tell you at the end what the theme is. So fables tell theme at the end. So they still tell you a story that they want you to read along and be entertained by, but they end up telling you what the theme is at the end, what you should have learned about that. Some of you may have heard about the tortoise and the hare, which is what you're going to be reading this week. Some of you may not, but you'll get to learn it. And in that, not only are they telling you the story of like a slow tortoise and a fast hare, and they're going to race, but what are they wanting you to learn from it? The other example is it's going to be implied. Where it's implied, what does that mean, Mrs. Nunes? Implied. That's where you have to figure it out. So in order to do that, you have to infer. So you, oops, look, I made a mistake, have to infer. I'm going to underline infer because that's a good word to know. To make an inference is to figure it out yourself. So figure it out yourself based on your schema. Schema is a big word. Based on your life. So what do you already bring to the table? Like, I'm a baker, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher. I have that experience already in my life. So based on what I already know, and so your life and the story's plot, character, setting, you have to bring those two combined to try to figure out, like a puzzle, what it's wanting you to learn about. So based on the story's plot, characters, setting, etc. I'm going to put ETC. So everything a story is made up of, that is what you can imply. You're going to infer, make a best guess of what the author is trying to teach you. Now, there's a couple of things that I'd like to explain. First is things that we can ask ourselves. So what I'm going to do is draw a nice little light bulb, but going this way. There we go. That's my light bulb. I'm sure you all are impressed. I like to do a light bulb because it means ding, 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 a light bulb has gone on, and that is something we can do. So think about or ask yourself these questions in order to figure out the theme. First is just about the story when you're trying to figure it out. What did the character or characters learn within the story? So what did the character, and I'm going to put this S like this because it could mean more than one characters. What did the characters learn Another question would be, how did the characters change? Often when we're reading, the characters start one way, and because of what's happened in the story, the characters make this change. For example, when we learn from our experiences, maybe we have read a story about like a bully, right? And they start off as a bully and realize that's not the best route to go to be a successful person and just to show kindness all around. So that character makes a switch within the story. So how did the character or characters change? And one other thing to think about is, after all is said and done, it's not the main idea of the story, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You need to think the theme applies to you. So, is it a life lesson? Is what you need to think about, that theme. Whatever you decide, especially if it's implied, so if it's to be kind to others, can I apply that to my life? Why, sure, I can. So that is a life lesson. Let's look at the differences between that. So what I wanted to say is, when I said it's not the theme is not the main idea. Think about it this way. If I do this, it is not the main idea. I'm going to put a little note right here. Main idea of a story. It tells you what the story is mostly about, right? What the story is mostly about. So, for example, with Little Red Riding Hood, she goes on a adventure, you could say, to see her grandma, to bring her a basket full of goodies. And she meets the wolf on the way. The main idea is that Little Red Riding Hood is going to visit her grandma. However, the message or theme is to not trust everyone that you come in contact with, because she surely shouldn't trust that wolf that she comes across. So there's the difference of those. So when it comes to the main idea, this is what I'm going to do. Theme is not the main idea. So I just cross that out. Now let's look at examples, because it's always good to have some examples. We'll do orange. And I'm just going to make a little signal here. So examples. Let's say a main idea over here and the theme is over here. Let's give you a couple. So if Kayla spends hours on her project and earned an A+. So a main idea is that Kayla spends hours on her project and gets an A+. That's what a story could be. Now, what could a theme be that goes along with that? So if I think about that for a minute, if someone were to work for hours and hours on this project and put a lot of time and effort into it, how can that be a life lesson for me? So a theme for me could then be that hard work pays off, because I put all that effort and all that time into completing something, and then I got an A. Hard work pays off. And that can apply to anything of life. If I work hard in my job, I could get a promotion. If I work hard in my homework, I can learn more and get better at what I'm doing. Let's do one more. How about if Jack and Jill were complete opposites, but they were both great kids? So Jack and Jill were completely different, complete opposites. So imagine you're reading a book about Jack and Jill, not Who Went Up the Hill, but quite possibly, and it's explaining their characters. Jack could obviously be a boy, Jill could be a girl. So if we take that into account, those are physical differences, but maybe they enjoy different things, they do different things, they act in different ways, even though they were still good kids, but both great kids. Running out of room here. Great kids. Now, if I take that into account, what could that mean for my life? How can I apply it to a life lesson? What can I learn from that? So, could have different viewpoints. I could have a different belief system than someone else. Like, so they were that complete opposite. They didn't understand each other, but they're still good kids. How can that apply? So, even though they're still good kids, I could say, and it can apply then to life, that being different is okay. So it's okay to be different. Or even that, how else can I say that? Being different. Mrs. Nunes is making all kinds of mistakes. See? Mistakes happen. There you go. It's okay to be different. Or it can also be yourself, right? That just because someone else is different doesn't mean that you conform to them. Being your true self still makes you a great kid. So, knowing that, if it says anything about what you are, what the story is about, so like that Little Red Riding Hood, the theme is not going to be about her going to her grandma's. The theme is not going to be about how she encounters a wolf. The theme is not going to be how she's taking an adventure through the woods. The theme is, because I read that story, I can learn that maybe it's nice to give to elders. I can learn from that. Maybe it can be that you shouldn't talk to strangers and have trust in them. So that can apply to your life. The message, moral, or lesson that the author is wanting you, yes, you, to learn from reading. All right, kiddos, so you are going to look at the next slide. I know this was a longer video. Unfortunately, when we take notes, it tends to be, but look at the next slide. I want you to read over that and see if you can add 2 to 3 things to your notes up here, wherever there's blank space, of things that you learned from that slide. Then take a snapshot of your amazing notes, and I can't wait to see you at writing time. See you soon.